The wind of change is sweeping across Africa. The spirit of our ancestors are celebrating our continent. We are blessed with leaders that are breathing life onto the continent. And which leaders am I talking about? What am I talking about here? I'm talking about that the last few days, we have another cluster of 3 countries that are borderless. They have declared that they are borderless. Their citizens will go across each and every one of those countries at whim, as they please. They will go, they will visit relatives across the border, across these fake borders that were drawn by the colonialists in the 1800s. We have had to accommodate ourselves in these cages of countries. But now we have 3 more countries that have decided that enough is enough. Now, which countries am I talking about? Many of you must have already heard that Namibia, Botswana, and Zambia, their citizens can go through the border free, just freely, just with an ID. And yes, somebody may say, oh, that's not so new. Yes, it is new in this case because it is fashioned after the Sahel regions. What the Sahel states did, that's what it is fashioned after. I'm Uma Bella, and I'm excited about what's happening in Africa. And so we bring you this today to let you know that the wonderful leaders that have managed to coin this very fast, I mean, we could tell, we could see that they were leaning towards doing something like this. They are President Nandi Netumbo Ndaitwa of Namibia, President Duma Boko of Botswana, and President Hakainde Hichilema of Zambia. Now, if we look at these leaders, they are seasoned politicians. They are people. They are people, they are persons of people. They are people-oriented. They have always been concerned about their people, the people's liberation, the people's well-being. Look at Nandi, President Nandi Netumbo Ndaitwa. At age 14, she left home. She went to Zambia. She joined the liberation movement of SWAPO, the Southwest African People's Organization. And she was throughout mitigating and making all the efforts that would help her country's liberation, which was at that time called Southwest Africa. Now, she rose through the ranks. She was in Zambia. She went in exile in Tanzania. She went exile and education in Moscow. And she went for education in Glasgow. So this lady is well educated. She has a college degree. She is seasoned from age 14. Aged in politics like fine wine. And then we come back to Botswana. Lawyer Duma Boko. Duma Boko has been a lawyer. After graduating from the University of Botswana, he went over to Harvard Law School. And from there, he came back home, was in politics. He was, of course, he became a professor for a while, teaching a lecture at the university for a while. And then he got into politics full-time, competing for president as a presidential candidate 3 times. He lost, and eventually he won. And then we go up to Zambia. President Hakainde Hichilema is an African, a Zambian, who went through what you would call heat. I don't want to mention the other word which people don't like. I don't like it that much, but he went through so much. The president at that time charged him with treason. because that president could not stand competition. He was charged with treason, he was thrown in jail, put in isolation, and eventually he was released eventually. But what is happening with this president, Hakainde, is that he's a businessman and he's also a farmer, but also a career politician. And you make the combination of these three and you see that they came to one understanding that they need to serve their people first. We saw that understanding up with the Sahel nations, the Sahel countries. We celebrated. And we still celebrate because the Sahel countries are going and going and going and scoring for their citizens. Now we have the South African nations of Namibia, Botswana, and Zambia. We have presidents who care for their citizens. We have presidents for a change in Africa who don't bow to any nonsense. Nandi Ndaitwah, for example, the second day almost after her inauguration, she nationalized their natural resources, the Namibian natural resources. And we are talking of oil, we are talking of uranium. The country has a lot of uranium, the country has a lot of oil, the country has a lot of diamonds. And then when we look at Botswana, President Duma Boko came in and pushed for renegotiation of the diamond prices in Botswana so that the country's diamonds could be purchased for better pricing than what the diamonds have been purchased for, which was almost throwaway price. And then you come to Zambia. President Hakainde is up with all kinds of different reforms that will protect the Zambian copper. With these presidents, now with these countries, we have the juggernaut of minerals. Namibia is among the 20 producers of diamond and uranium. And now she's going to be getting the barrels equivalent to that of Angola per day. And Angola is a top oil producer coming only after Nigeria. And now the oil of Namibia and the diamonds and the uranium. Then the copper of Zambia that is going to be part of the electrification, part of powering infrastructure. And then Botswana with its diamonds. Botswana is a top diamond exporter. These are a juggernaut, those three countries. Together, they have the minerals. They have the kind of presidents we envy, the kind of presidents whose heads are straight up. And now, what is the West saying? I'm sure whatever they're saying, they're quiet about it. There have been some reactions. We saw that there was some delegation sent to Zambia. We are not sure exactly what that delegation was doing from the United States. The West is not happy overall. But China and Russia, they're seeing an opportunity. They're seeing an opportunity. They're playing their cards carefully And so, nobody is asking the West to leave or to do anything. For example, in Namibia, Shell and the French oil company, Total Energies, have been in that country for a very long time. And the problem with them is, okay, granted they have been doing oil exploration, but the problem is that Namibia could only get 10% of what is being extracted of their national wealth. 10%, come on. So these people hold away wealth. These foreign countries, Shell, Total, and I understand Chevron is in there too. And I don't know how they are going to be reacting, but I don't think that is something that Nandi Netumbo Ndaita cared to worry about. Because as we just said, the day after her inauguration, she nationalized those companies, and they are within her immediate sight in the office of the president. I don't think she intends to disenfranchise anybody. But as long as the West can humble itself and work with the leaders of African countries and settle for fair contracts and agreements on the natural resources that they are pulling out of Africa, of course nobody's going to worry to bother them. Because we have to trade, we Africa have to trade with somebody. African countries have to trade with somebody. We can trade with each other, but we also would trade externally. But terms have to be right. Agreements have to be fair. Conditions have to be conducive. And so this is the message that the West should get. Speculations are that, okay, the West will try to play hard-nosed. They will try to see how they can put some conditionalities on certain loans and restrict them and things like that. The idea of loans are short-lived, especially when you're dealing with a country that is producing uranium, is producing diamonds, is producing dump loads of oil. You got to be careful with those, restrictions that you may think that you want to do to bend a leader. Traore showed them that, no, you can't bend us. We're not going to be on bended knees and you're not going to bend our backs. And that was very clear. And that has worked. And that is a blueprint. A president like Nandi Netumbo Ndaitwa is not somebody you are going to expect to bend. This girl, this lady, this president, as a girl of 14, she left her country and went to fight for the liberation of her country externally, from external. Living externally in Zambia and then in different other countries. That spirit of rebellion, that spirit is still in her. That spirit is still in President Nandi Netumbo Ndaitwa. And so these are the presidents as well. If you have listened to President Duma Boko talking, you know he got the spirit. He got the spirit of improving his people, building houses for his people, letting his ministers know that you can't be stealing from your country, letting his ministers know that they are working for the people, not for themselves. And if you hear President of Zambia also talking, Hachilema Kainde, he challenged Western countries, said, all these big monies you collect on visas, and most of the times you say no to the visas. Is this fair? Do you think it is fair that you make all these millions of dollars from our poor young people who are trying to go and look for opportunities in your countries. It's not bad enough that you say no, but you don't refund the money. And when you come back to President of Namibia, Nandi Netumbo Ndaitwa, she was clear about America's restrictions on visa or barring Africans or her country from getting visa. She said, okay, fine. If you don't want our people to get a visa, then, then fine, let it be reciprocal. The Bill Gates Foundation went to her recently. They wanted to sell to Namibia or to do a testing on Namibian women's wombs with an intrauterine device that would keep them from getting pregnant for 8 years. I heard that and I laughed into bursts. I'm like, what? Namibia is a country the size of, it's larger than Texas. It's a country larger than Kenya. And it has only 2.5 million people. Its population is only 2.5 million. Do you go to such a country and talk about, birth control? Are you kidding? Don't you do your homework? Or you just thought, oh, Africans won't mind. These African presidents, they will just take the bribe and they will let us do what we do. No. She said no. She said no. First, our citizens are not guinea pigs for testing. Secondly, we have a modest population. And she said no, is the answer. And she sent them away. Who does that? How many African presidents have the courage to do that? Look at some countries. I don't have to look very far. That just let Bill Gates come into the country and do whatever he wants. Not only even the central government in the country I'm talking about, you find that even some county governors are knee-deep into letting Bill Gates get into the hinterland of their countries and do nonsense. I have nothing against Bill Gates. I only am a proponent of Africans. I'm an African. And these are not my opinions. I'm only reporting what President Nandi Ndaitwa told Bill Gates Foundation. And I totally agree, like most people agree, that you are going to a country that is bigger than Texas, bigger than Kenya. Kenya has a population of over 50 million, and you are going to a country which has 2.5 million, barren almost in terms of sparse population, and you're asking them to do birth control, have a UDI inserted into a woman, then she will not give birth for 8 years. What is that? Anyway, it's not mine. The president of Namibia told him no. And so we are looking and celebrating at Southern Africa. What has happened in the 3 countries of Namibia, Botswana, and Zambia. President Duma Boko of Botswana not so long ago renegotiated the rates of the diamonds. Botswana, again, as we said, is the largest producer, is the biggest producer of diamonds in the world. And that diamond has been going out at a rate that was not acceptable at all. And when he came in, that's one of the things that he promised to do. And he did, renegotiated. He's building decent housing for the population of Botswana. He's doing a lot of great things that Botswanans are happy about. And so is President Hakainde Hichilema. is out there challenging issues that he feels are no good, not only for the Zambians, but are no good for Africans. Dear friends, do subscribe to the Diaspora Point. Do give us a thumbs up and share widely. This issue that is so thrilling to many of the Africans about the 3 South African states coming together, becoming one country almost. We are going to be revisiting it. We are going to be updating you on it. Please subscribe, give us a thumbs up and share. Thank you, kwaheri.